Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today I'm going to be doing a brand new original tag called Box Office Tops and Flops. This was created by joint creators Heather at Heather Reads and Meg at Books Off the Beaten Path, and I was tagged by Heather. Now, there's only one prompt. The prompt is, using YouTube Studio, look up your 5 videos that got the highest number of views and the 5 that got the lowest, and then answer these questions. So about each video, why do you think this video got as many or as few views as it did? And for the 5 highest, do you think each video warrants as many views as it got? And for the 5 lowest, can you think of a good reason why more people should watch these videos? So I think this is a really great idea, and I was very interested to go into YouTube Studio once I figured out how to access this data, and I was able to get my 5 most frequently viewed videos and the 5 that have the fewest views. The 5 that have the fewest definitely have something in common, and actually the 5 that have the most views have something in common too. So here we go. My number 1 most viewed video is my top 10 favorite reads of 2024, and that has 17,641 views. Now, do I think that it warrants that many views? I find it very hard to believe that 17,000 plus people decided to watch my top 10 favorite reads. I'm just sort of stunned by that. Why do I think it has so many views? I think that we know that the algorithm somehow picks up top 10, top 5. You know, they like lists, they like numbers. And I think these end of the year videos also do really well. I think people are interested in what people's favorite books were, what people's, least favorite books were. I think they just tend to be popular topics. Number 2, 10 books that made me, and this got 3,353 views. This was a video about the 10 books that had the most important impact on my life, at different stages of my life. Again, it's a top 10 list. It's another list. It was a video, I think, that I did pretty early on in my channel's history. And I think that, it probably was a curiosity to people who, didn't know me, who were just seeing me for the first time. So that kind of, to me, explains why that one was so viewed. And again, all these numbered videos tend to do well. My number 3 highest viewed video was some January reading plans just done this past January, and that had 2,412 views. I think that reading plan videos at the beginning of the year might explain, why that one did well. I think the end of the year videos do well. I think starting a new year videos do well because people are looking for, things that they're going to read in the new year. I think there was a new year appeal to that one. I do a reading plans video every month. The others didn't come anywhere near the top. So I think it was the fact that it was January and the start of a new year. My number 4 most frequently viewed video was Your Best Shelf, another top 10 list. This was a tag that was created by my friend Gavin at Genre Books. And this, the object of this was to create your fantasy bookshelf. If you could have any books that you wanted and price was no object, but they'd had to be books that you could actually get and that you could actually read. And this kind of spread like wildfire. People really enjoyed doing this one. And I certainly enjoyed doing it. And I think that these had a lot of appeal. People wanted to know what our dream shelves would look like. And mine was pretty modest. I mean, I didn't have expensive, rare books. I just had things that I couldn't quite justify buying for myself. And that one had 2,180 views. And then my number 5 most frequently viewed video was one I just did not too long ago, and this was Big Books of Summer 2025. And these were the things that I was hoping to read for the Big Books of Summer Challenge. And that one has right now 2,068 views. Now, do I think it warrants those views? There was nothing special about it. It was just a list of big books that I was planning to read. But my understanding of it was that it was early in the summer or late spring, and people are, planning their summer reading. So I think there was an appeal. What are some big books that people might be interested in reading, to sink their teeth into for the summer. Now, one thing that I noticed about my most frequently viewed videos is that they all seem to be of this kind of list nature, whether it was, a top 10 or the books that made me, or, it was more, they were list videos, and they seem to get picked up by the algorithm more so than a lot of the other things that I do. I do a weekly wrap-up. None of my weekly wrap-ups made my top 5. I do a monthly plan video every month. Only one of them, only January's, got picked up in the top 5. I do a poetry video every week. None of those made the top 5, and I'm going to be talking about those in a minute. I read 28 banned books in 2024, and I reviewed all of those on the channel, and none of those came anywhere near the top. So, it does feel like the videos that I do that are the most in-depth, that have the, that sort of take the most preparation and planning, they are nowhere near the top, nowhere near my most frequently viewed. I've been doing a series that is 15 videos long now of books that I love to teach. And while that's a very popular series, and I have regular followers who watch those, they don't come anywhere near these kind of numbers. So that was interesting. It was interesting to see what gets pushed by YouTube, and it's definitely lists, it's numbers, it's videos with a number in the title. Now, my lowest. As you know, if you follow my channel, I do a poetry video every week. That's one of the staples of my channel. And all 5 of my lowest viewed videos were poetry videos. I'm going to start at my 5th lowest and go back down to my number 1 lowest. So number 5 is a video that I did last summer for Rocket Summer, and I just featured Tracy K. Smith's poem, Life on Mars. And that was actually a request. Somebody asked for that, and that got only 130 views. Number 4, again, science fiction poetry, Ray Bradbury. I read his very famous poem, If Only We Had Taller Ben, and that got only 125 views. This one makes me particularly sad. My number 3, I did a lot of videos last summer for the Phenomenal Woman Readathon. This was a readathon that was created by my dear friend Marilyn Maya Mendoza. She was celebrating her 74th birthday, and she was also celebrating a very special connection that she has to the poet Maya Angelou. I made a bunch of videos for Phenomenal Woman, but this one I featured just the poetry of Maya Angelou, and that was for Marilyn, and that got only 111 views. My second lowest viewed video was one I did for Horror Mayhem of 2024, and I did a video on the poetry of Edgar Allan Poe. Now, he's a very popular writer, and he's certainly a very popular writer for Horror Mayhem, but not his poetry, apparently. Only got 105 views. Now, my lowest viewed video, another poetry video. This one has a really interesting story. Last summer, I had put out a request for themes. Were there themes that people wanted me to talk about in poetry? And I got a lot of requests, which is funny considering that my poetry videos are not really well viewed, but they are well viewed by a loyal bunch of followers, and that's who I make them for. But I had a request from my friend Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads for me to do a poetry video on the poetry of cats, because if you watch Greg's channel, you know that he features his many cats in many of his videos. So I did a video just on the poetry of cats, and you know, I think I probably shouted out Greg and David Novak. David Novak reads poetry. He also features cats in his channel. I know Jenny Jables does also. I don't think I knew her. I don't know if I knew her when I made that video, but there are a lot of people who feature cats in their videos. So I did that video. And then, you know, I had to be fair, so I did one on dogs. And I have a lot of friends who feature dogs in their videos. Mark at Book Time with Elvis, Steve Donahue, Dave, Book Blather, Renee, who features Raina. Raina is the co-host in every video. Gareth at Book Songs and Other Magic. James features his little Louise in most of his videos at Quaint and Curious Volumes. So I did a video on the poetry of dogs. So then my dear friend Troy at Troy Tradup, he wrote in the comments to one of these, you know, animal videos, okay, I'll play along. How about sharks? Thinking I'd never be able to come up with a video on the poetry of sharks. And I did. I found a lot of poetry written about sharks, and I made a video for Troy on the poetry of sharks. And that is my lowest viewed video with only 100 views. Now, the happy ending to this story is that Troy was then inspired to write his own poem about sharks, which he shared with me. And then he was so inspired by, you know, just writing poetry and, you know, getting back into writing poetry again, that he was kind of on fire, and he was writing poetry like crazy and sharing his poetry on his channel. And he actually published a book this past year. And this came out of this funny conversation that we had about the poetry of sharks. So even though it has a very limited viewership, it played an important role in my friendship with Troy and in Troy's life as a writer. Now, when I was looking at my lowest videos, of my 20 lowest videos, 18 of them were poetry videos, and all of them had less than 200 views. And my other two in that top 20 of lowest videos, I did my August 2024 plans, last year, and that didn't do well. That only had 134 views. And I did a video for mental health awareness, and I specifically talked about Kay Redfield Jamison's book, Fires in the Dark, and that didn't do well at all. That only had 158 views. So, that's a little sad to me that, these important topics like mental health awareness was not well viewed, and that my poetry videos are consistently low in terms of viewership, which YouTube tells me every week. So, can I think of a good reason why more people should watch these videos with low views? I guess I would just say, give it a try. I talk about a lot of different genres on this channel. I regularly talk about fiction. I talk about some nonfiction. I do a series on books that I taught. I talk a lot about classics, but poetry is also a staple of my channel, and I have a video every week on poetry. And a lot of people tell me I don't understand poetry, I don't know how to read poetry, or I didn't like reading poetry in school. I would say just give it a try. I tend to focus on poems that are accessible, and I try to link them to either events that are going on or themes, that are important or that have been requested. So I would just, I would say, let's be well-rounded readers and give them a try. It certainly, certainly can't hurt. I guess that's it. I guess that's all of the prompts. If you are watching this and you would like to give this a try, I'll have the prompts in the notes below, and I hope you'll consider yourself tagged. But as I always do, I'm going to tag a bunch of people as well in the notes so that we can let this box office tops and flops get some traction. So, as always, I thank you for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.